RuggaMatrix International is brought to you by Strike. Check out their fleet tracking system. It will save you hundreds of dollars per month. Go to strike.com.au. RuggaMatrix International is also brought to you by mybean.com.au. Coffee delivered straight from the roaster to guarantee the freshest brew. You won't pay any more at mybean.com.au. We sell at roasters' prices. Hello and welcome to RuggaMatrix International, coming to you the day after the third and final British and Irish Lions Test victory at the Olympic Stadium, ANZ Stadium. And I thought, well, what better place than to do it than the place of the cash cow himself, Mark Cashman, because Mark Cashman, we may have lost the Test series, but we've already won with views like this.
Well, that's right, Bronk. Listen, we were just going for a walk this morning with my lovely wife, and we said the only bad thing for the British and Irish Lions supporters is they've got to go back home. We can stay here.
Absolutely. So please go home now. They're here for a couple of days afterwards. All right, Mark. So we've got a few post-match interviews to go to in the moment, but very quickly, just summing up how the weekend went in the third Test. Absolute shellacking, a massive result in favour of the Lions. And I've got to say that Australia were out-thought, out-coached, out-muscled, and probably out-enthused in the end, because the Lions really brought their A-game. And in fact, they've probably been building to this. I know there's been a lot of controversy for Warren Gatland about his side, but I think that was the Lions, how they were supposed to play. And maybe to some extent, I thought it was how the Wallabies should have played in the end too, because I just don't think they were the same standard.
I think Bronk, Warren Gatland didn't get the side that he actually wanted to play Test football with until this game. And listen, they really got out there and they really showed their power style of game. What did they call it? Was a ball, don't they? And it was really direct. It was confrontational. 1-8 absolutely decided that they were going to win the game, and the backs decided by how much. But superb performances around the ground. Alex Corby-Sierra, pretty close to my man of the match, being an old front row. Lee Halfpenny just kept potting him over. And listen, the guys that he picked in the centres, Jonathan Davies and also Jamie Roberts, had a superb game. So put to rest that the big pre-game selection controversy over Brian O'Driscoll. Even in the post-match conference after the game in the All-In, Warren Gatland did say it was the most unenjoyable game of Test win that he's had, simply because of the controversy. He'll probably by about Tuesday, Wednesday of next week start to enjoy it, and I'm sure he'll be in the Lions Hall of Fame now for sure.
Yeah, not bad for a Kiwi, hey. I've got to say, congratulations to Warren Gatland with the way that he conducted himself pre-tour and during the tour, and now after the tour. Who knows what's going to happen, but certainly a lot of difference. Me being on the other end of the spectrum in terms of the media spin doctor for the Wallabies back in 2001, we did have to handle some pretty ordinary stuff coming out of the Graham Henry camp. I've got to say, this time around, Casho, I thought Warren Gatland was very, very good.
Oh, listen, always accessible, as he was right from the word go. I can remember doing interviews with you and Warren in December of last year, and listen, always here, always accessible, and always had something to say, which was sort of really good.
Really good. So it was a massive loss to Australia. A lot of expectation after the series was tied at 1-1 in Melbourne. But as we go down to the mixed zone, let's catch up with one of the star players who came off the bench, and that is the Brumbies and now Wallabies fullback, Jesse Mogg.
A great experience. I love getting out there and sort of trying to get involved in the game as much as possible. So disappointing result, obviously, but looking to get a little bit more involved later on in the year.
How gutted is the team inside there? You're obviously pretty new to the setup.
Oh yeah, it's definitely, you can sense a lot of disappointment and I guess hurt from a lot of the players. We knew how big this occasion was for not only the team but also Australian rugby, so they'll be hurting obviously and trying to turn things around for the end of the year.
you're obviously a fullback watcher. Lee Halfpenny, quite a superb performance, not only tonight but right through the series.
Oh, definitely, he's a class act. He showed that in the Six Nations and for Wales last year, and I've been watching him closely this year throughout the series and also for Wales, and I think he's one of the best, if not the best, fullback in the world at the moment. And credit to him, he obviously works hard at everything, and he got, I think, man of the series for this series here. So credit to him. Yeah, he's a class act.
How hard is it going to be to go back to Brumbies and a Super Rugby comp that's there to be run and won?
Oh, definitely. I'm actually looking forward to sort of getting back there and getting into it. We've worked pretty hard this year to get to the stage where we're at, and looking to finish it off and hopefully take out a Super Rugby Championship.
Fondest memory of the Lions still?
Definitely running on just the crowd and finally getting on the field is something I'll never forget.
How much confidence will you take back to Canberra from how well you handled tonight?
Yeah, heaps. I mean, there's not too much opportunities you can give a team like the Lions. So I'll be taking as much as possible back to the Brumbies, what I've learnt with the Wallabies in camp and also the Lions outfit. So as I said, we've got a big job ahead of us at the Brumbies. We've still got one game left before finals, and hopefully fine-tune things there and just take the experiences back and try and lift the boys there.
It's a disappointing result, but your own performance, you must have been pretty pleased with how you handled it.
Oh yeah, it was good, I thought. I mean, I tried to get an early touch and made a half break there. Fortunately turned the ball over, but for games like that, I think the key is to get involved as much as possible from the back, and you can just see the damage that Folau and Kirtley do when they get the hands on the ball a lot. So something I'll learn along the way, I guess, for the year to come, and hopefully build on tonight.
Jesse, you've seen Folau do his hammy. What's going through your head at that moment, just as you're about to go on for your debut?
Not much really. I mean, I guess it was a bit easy this week, expecting to get on because there was just the two of us on the bench. So he said he wasn't right straight away. So I just sort of kept my cool and sort of knew my role, what I had to do on the field, and trained at fullback during the week. But I felt really comfortable out there on the wing as well. So I guess that's the good thing about sort of the back three contingent we've got in the squad at the moment. They're very interchangeable, and yeah, I just enjoyed the experience.
The first touch you got, you went through that break, and you came very close to scoring. Can you tell us about how that helped your game from then on, getting that sort of half break, and what sort of confidence that gave you for the rest of the match? Yeah,
it just sets out your confidence for the game and getting an early touch on the ball and sort of get yourself in the game. I didn't plan to get ankle tap for the start, so had I got through, I was going to give my every self chance to score, and that's just what sort of was going through my head, is just sort of drawing the guys and either give myself an opportunity or someone around me an opportunity to score and get us back in the game. So getting early touches in the game definitely builds the confidence.
Would that moment run through your head for quite a while now, the what ifs, if you did make it through and couldn't help the team?
Nah, definitely not. I think the best thing I can do now is go through the game and see what I could do differently in an international stage and how I can help the team, and what's done is done now, and you can't really look back, and you just got to build from here.
Yeah, Bronk, listen, great debut from Jesse Mogg. I think we're going to see him in the Wallaby Gold quite a number of times. Lot of bows to his assets there, and one of them's just that genuine speed that he showed with that superb break early on off that Kirtley Beale pass. And listen, he's got his head screwed on, Jesse, and I think's only going to prosper under the whichever Wallaby regime we come up with in the very near future.
All right, we'll talk about that in a moment. But Jesse Mogg, one of the interesting things about him, I find, Mark Cashman, he's got an excellent kicking game, and he is able to craft that beautiful angle close to the touchline to get the most territory possible. It's a really great skill. I actually really would have liked him to play in the series from game one, because what he did to the Lions B team, I'll say that in inverted commas, in Canberra was exceptional. And he's full of courage. He's a tall player, and I think selection-wise, and we'll go into that in a moment. Selection-wise, we probably should have made a few changes before heading into the match. James O'Connor, will come to that in a moment as well. But Casho, as we talk about the strategy of the game, I thought Australia's strategy was quite flawed. I'm not quite sure what the Wallabies were doing, but their kicking game was just unbelievably stupid.
One of the big talking points in the press room after the game was the kicking game. It was there wasn't much sense to it, and it didn't work, and they kept on doing it. Lee Halfpenny, they brought him into the game, and Lee was just able to manipulate the defences around the place, and that's why the Lions scored. What was it? 4 tries, 41 points to 16. It was just a real smash up, but they really played into the Lions' hands in many ways. A lot of guys were saying, "Listen, you've got guys out there of the ilk of Israel Folau, Jesse Mogg at one particular stage, and varying others. And listen, we just did not run at them. We just gave the ball back to them, and that's suicide."
There's nothing more infuriating than, and I can't it's my number one beef in rugby, Casho, is mindless kicking. You must kick with purpose, and if you're no good at it, keep the ball in hand. One of the theories I had out of the game was, when Australia tied the game up or got close to the at half time and the Wallabies were back in it, the Wallabies were doing their best with the ball in hand. And James O'Connor, who's not a 10, did well with his own running game. Like, he's not good at passing the ball, but he's terrific when he's on his own, and he did a good job to score the try. Now, the Wallabies, if they just held on the footy at key moments without turning the ball over with these cheap kicks, they really could have put the pressure on the Lions. Instead, in the second half, they just what they did in the first part of the first half, and that was just kicked it down the throat of Lee Halfpenny.
Yeah, and spilling the ball, which brought the game back to a bit of a set piece sort of game, and you know, as I said before, that was just absolute suicide. The Lions scrum had an absolutely superb day. Listen, I feel really sorry for all those guys up front. They copped one of those dishings, and listen, let's hope they can come back from that and do well during the Rugby Championship. But everything that they did, we'll put it this way, it wasn't one of our great days, really, was it?
I'll ask you about the scrum in more detail in a moment, but let's go back down to the mix zone and catch up with the Wallabies vice captain, a very shattered Wallabies vice captain, Will Genia.
Yeah, we didn't start well. We were chasing the game right from the start, and you know, they ended up putting us to the sword right at the end.
Good middle section of the game from the Wallabies?
Yeah, we did really well. I think just before the half-time break, we got ourselves a try, got back into the game, and then right after half-time, you know, got a bit of momentum, got it to 19-16, and then, you know, from then on, it just went downhill.
Can you explain the flat start? It wasn't great.
It was just a mix-up, you know. I think I called for the ball to catch it, and then Kano came across as if he was going to get it, and I thought he was going to catch it, and then I just let it go and went for it at the very last minute. So I probably should have been louder with my call and caught it, and I think that probably set us up for the result. When you look back on it, you know, knock on, they get scrum ascendancy, and then they get the half arm, they take the quick tap, they score an early try, and we're chasing the game right from the start. They built momentum off their scrum and managed to just get the scoreboard ticking over.
How tough was it with the scrum? You know, those struggles, and then that just killed any momentum?
Oh, it was tough, you know. Like, they were really good on their ball, and then on our ball, I think a couple of times the ball was already out, and then they awarded a penalty. I was trying to tell him, you know, the ball's out. After you've blown the whistle, let us play. But that was just his interpretations, and you can't take credit away from them. They scrummed really well, and I guess earned those penalties.
Were you surprised with the width they played with late in the game?
No, we knew that they would play, you know, a different style of footy, bring something different to this contest. Obviously, what they brought to that second game wasn't effective in terms of getting the results, and mate, as I said, look, they put us to the sword. You know, they scored a lot of tries out there and got a lot of points.
How shattered are you, and how confident are you that the team can bounce back in the Rugby Championship and do something good?
Oh, look, obviously gutted. You only get one crack at this unless you're George Smith, and you know, you're gonna have to live with it, live with a missed opportunity. But as Rugby Championship, you just got to start again. You know, you got to put this behind you as quickly as you can, and start again, which is tough.
Great crowd support, Will, all around the country. Something like 400,000 people came to watch the Lions play. Is it good for the game?
Oh, the event itself was incredible. Regardless of the result of the series, I'll look back on this and just have fond memories of everything. You know, the crowds in Brisbane and Melbourne, here in Sydney were incredible. Sydney was buzzing today. I went for a walk around just to get some lunch, and to see people really getting into the game. You know, it's just great for rugby in general that such a buzz was created and so many people attended the games.
Well, how much would you like to see Robbie stay on as the coach for the Rugby Championship?
Oh mate, that's not something that I guess I can really comment too much on. You know, he's the coach at the moment, and whether he's the coach moving forward, I'll have my 100% support. That's not my decision to make, and I don't think the result reflects anything, on Robbie. As players, we're held accountable. We were the ones out there in the field, mate.
Is it a bit of an unfortunate result for Robbie though?
Mate, I don't know. It's not my place to comment or to have. I haven't thought about that at all.
Has it been a distraction? Is it annoying us asking you about it and constantly?
I've been asked about it, to be honest, and it's not something that I've thought about, as I said. So I don't really have any opinion on it.
What did you make him change that comments?
I thought it was really good. He's a lot of pressure coming on his shoulders leading into this series, and he's a confident young kid, and he really stepped up. He embraced the responsibility, and he got better and better throughout the series. And I think tonight was evident of that. When the game was, I guess, falling out of reach, he didn't shy away from wanting the ball and wanting to continue to play and attack.
Yeah, Bronk. Will's a class act, isn't he? Even at the end of probably that very disappointing performance, he was there fronting the media and doing all the right things. And listen, it certainly wasn't his fault that they went down so badly. And I think everyone would notice that Will's been carrying that knee injury, and I think from what I'm hearing, it's going to keep him out of the big local derby between New South Wales and Queensland next Saturday night at ANZ Stadium. So he's been carrying that all the way through. He's been pretty sharp, but he's been one of the main go-to men and one of the leaders of that particular side. So let's hope he gets well soon, so he's all right for that rugby championship coming up very soon.
One of the great leaders of the side is George Smith, and I was so stoked to see him play in the game. And Casho, he was wiped out in the first couple of minutes, which was just heartbreaking for Australia. But he spoke to the pack, including Mark Cashman, after the game, and this is what the Ultimate Warrior had to say.
Yeah, look, the start wasn't ideal. They kicked off, we fumbled, and then consequently they scored a couple of phases later. But we had our chances tonight. There was a period where we were in striking distance to score a try in their half. Within the second half, and we did close the gap after coming on in the second half, and it's unfortunate. I know how hard the boys have worked. Not even just in the last 6 weeks, but just speaking to them, and leading up to this series, the guys really wanted this win.
It didn't look too well. How long did it take to sort of get better? And do you remember a lot of the first half? No, it was a heavy one. So.
Oh yeah, with the head knock. Look, from what I was told, I was snake dancing off the field, and it wasn't looking great. But I went into the change room, composed myself, and I was there with three doctors there, assessing me and passed the test and came back out. So. Look, I had no problems coming out and trying to contribute in any way I could. But look, they played well tonight.
Test 1-1-1.
Yeah. Look, yeah, I think so. Yeah. Knowing when to sort of pass it on and move on. I've had a fantastic career, and I think it's time for the guys who have been established, and Michael Hooper, there's Dave Pocox, Liam Gills, and there's a wealth of back rows within Australian rugby who are pushing as well, pushing for selection. So I've had a great career, and it's time for me to concentrate on my club commitments, and that's with Suntory in Japan.
Is there any feeling like, or just regret that it's finished that way for you?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Look, I didn't imagine I lost tonight. The preparation that the players had was fantastic, and even my personal preparation, I put everything in leading into this match. I had everything riding on this game. It's disappointing, but I can look back and I've had a great career, international career. I mean. Oh look, for me, the immediate response to me to relax. You know, I got a couple of days off, and you know, obviously the focus is to refocus for the Super Rugby, but I've got a couple of days to switch off.
How do you feel now in your head? Are you right?
I'm fine, no problems. I just had a test with our team doctor, and that was all fine. Yeah, only a few more brain cells.
Yeah, it's funny, Bronk. Test 111 won't be amongst the highlight reels too much for George Smith. Maybe he thinks he's only played 110, maybe. But listen, you know what a great ornament to the game to actually come back and play Test rugby after a break of 4 years and actually have that mana about him. It's absolutely superb. I just hope that George can get back on the field as quickly as he possibly can in the next few weeks and play a role in the Brumbies' crack at the Super Rugby Championship.
Absolutely. He was very humble after the game, and he has tasted 12 years ago success against the Lions and as a young 21-year-old. And so, you know, good wishes to you, George Smith. And, yeah, he's got a job to do over the next couple of weeks and, of course, goes back to Japan to play club rugby over there. So, Mark Cashman, we have heard from the mix zone now, and we did get a chat in with Connor Murray, but I've got to do some tweaking on the audio, mates, and hopefully we'll have that to you in the show later in the week. But we can just talk about some of the lines that we were chatting to afterwards there in the mix zone, and they were extremely humble, actually. They weren't cocky at all, and it was, I think, indicative of how these guys handled themselves in this tour.
Yeah, very much so, Bronk. Always accessible. You know, their media was run sort of quite well. The guys we spoke to, Connor Murray, Jonathan Davies, were quite open and obviously very excited about the role that they played in history. Connor Murray had his Lions jersey still on, and I asked him if he was going to take it off, and he said probably next Tuesday when he gets on the plane. So I'm not sure where all the Lions boys are. I hope they're enjoying this beautiful sunny Sydney winter afternoon, maybe at Doyle's somewhere, having some fish and chips and having a few beers. Warren was a bit concerned about the lag between the boys actually getting on the plane, which is Tuesday of this particular week. So I'm sure they'll stay out of trouble and be the ambassadors that they've been all throughout Australia for the past 6 weeks.
Well, they certainly deserve to celebrate and celebrate hard. So a couple of serious angles to come out of this for Australia. And that is, number one, up front at the scrum. I actually think the scrum's okay, but every time you have a match, it's about tactics and the contest starting again. Casho, just because you won the scrum 2 minutes before doesn't mean you're going to win the next one.
No, and all the boys know that. Every scrum's a different contest. And listen, we just got smashed up early on. You know, it started badly for the Wallabies with that spilled kick-off. And listen, I hate to say it, but we seem to crumple in these important matches. You've only got to flash back to Rugby World Cup semi-final 2011. Quade Cooper kicks out in the full. What happens this time through? Will Genia, of all people, spills the ball, and we're on the back foot from there. Alex Corbisiero scores, and away we go. And you know, we're on the back foot. We did manage to get back into it just before half time and just after the break. But listen, the game was pretty much gone. I think the mentality of actually falling behind early doesn't suit our guys.
Selection-wise, this is another big issue. Warren Gatland got this right 100%. Obviously, there was a lot of disappointment from the Northern Hemisphere, particularly our Ireland listeners and viewers, that Brian O'Driscoll was left out. In the end, the proof is in the pudding. A massive victory to the Lions, and not only that, they really picked a massive backline, and it was too much for the Wallabies to handle. And that means you can actually carry a guy like Lee Halfpenny at the back, who's not the biggest guy going around. But when you've got Tommy Bowe, George North, and Jonathan Davis, he's not the biggest guy. But I tell you who is big is Jamie Roberts. He's massive. And combine all those guys together and get Connor Murray in there. I mean, he's a massive halfback as well. That's a lot of man to handle, and in the end it was too much for Australia. So that selection was very good from Warren Gatland. Australia's selection missed the mark. James O'Connor is not an international 10. There's news today that the Rebels will not re-sign him for next year. So it's anyone's guess where he'll end up. He could end up overseas, because I'm not quite sure if any clubs in Australia have room for him, or indeed need him, or even want him.
Yeah, that's interesting, Bronk, isn't it? From what I'm hearing, a lot of the franchises are saying that James won't fit into their system. I don't know what that says about where he's at this particular time. Perhaps he might have to head overseas to actually continue his rugby career. You know, is the manager on the line to France at this particular point in time? I'm sure James O'Connor wants to play more Test rugby. I think he obviously deserves to have a spot in that Wallaby backline. Whether it's number 10, well, I don't think so, but I think he deserves a spot starting somewhere in that Wallaby backline, probably in one of the wider channels.
Well, interesting thought. So Robbie Deans is obviously the coach who put him in place. Robbie Deans has been coach of the Wallabies since the 2008 Super Rugby season, when the Crusaders beat the Waratahs. I was there on the night, and there were great expectations about Robbie Deans, and with good reason, because he dominated so long with the Canterbury Crusaders. But the Crusaders and the Kiwi players are a different beast to the Wallabies, and it's taken him a long time to get used to that. In fact, I don't think he has. And as a result, Australia's capitulated to some of the most embarrassing defeats under Deans. His winning record's pretty low. And the Caravan, well, the Caravan has dogs barking all over it. So, Casho, the question is, will Robbie Deans be in the job this time next week?
Well, who knows? But I think what needs to happen, there needs to be some senior, real leadership shown by people at the Australian Rugby Union. I think it is time for us to move on from the Deans regime, whether it's Jake White or whether it's Ewan McKenzie. Both obviously very good candidates. The word around the traps is that Jake White's got his nose in front, but listen, Ewan has many great qualities. He is an Australian, and I think that's probably what we need at this particular point in time. Someone who understands the psyche of the Australian players, and you know, I don't think this is a criticism of Robbie, but whether he's actually understood the psyche of the Australian rugby athlete, I don't know.
It's a big element. There's no doubt about that. You know, let's be clear here. This is not about Robbie Deans bashing or anything like that. The facts are pretty plain. We just haven't performed against the Kiwis to start with. And when we did win the Tri-Nations under Robbie, the Kiwis basically rested all their players for the World Cup. So it is disappointing that he can't energise the players the same way that, say, Ewan McKenzie has done, or even Jake White has done at the Brumbies. So these are tough decisions. Players get dropped every day. The coaches shouldn't be any different. Everyone out there in the workplace knows that. So this is just about the business of rugby, I guess. And he's had a fair while in the chair. And yes, I agree, Casho, it's time to move on. My preference would be for Ewan McKenzie. He's a great mate of ours on RuggaMatrix, there's no doubt about that. But Jake White would be just equally as good. But Ewan, you know, I think he deserves his shot at it now. So let's see how that goes over the next period of time. I've totally enjoyed Casho. I don't know about you. The last 3 or 4 weeks on the road, I've done some miles, but I've really enjoyed actually driving around the countryside. I might post a bit of a video about my journey later on, but it has been thoroughly and enjoyable. And if you got your program there, Casho, that's from the 3rd test, and I had the pleasure of doing a lot of photos for that and the Q&As. Ben Alexander let me down by not scoring 6 tries. Everyone else scored tries in the Q&A section. But, you know...
Have a look at that, Brock. Yeah,
let's get that one up there. So that was the one I took in Melbourne. And that, to me, signalled the tide turning and Will Genia doing the job and Kurtley Beale behind him after the Lee Halfpenny had missed that penalty shot right at the death. So it's been enjoyable. I would guess that you've sold a lot of these programs, but I've seen a lot of people on Twitter asking where can they get them now.
Well, Bronk, over those past 6 weeks, I've produced with my team there at Inside Rugby 1,044 pages of rugby, and it's been great to do the programs for each of the 9 games. But listen, we do have overs at the moment, and you can get them by going on to www.magshop.com.au, and you'll be transferred to a page there where Lions programs are actually there. So get on there, cost price plus a bit of postage, and then we'll post them out to you wherever you are in the world. So that's a bargain.
All right, so that address is on the bottom of the screen, everyone, and you can always go to RuggaMatrix.com, and in this story you'll find a link to make it easier so you don't have to remember Casho's long URL. Casho, 12 years after I was involved in the management team, it's quite sad to see the Tom Richards Trophy go north, but, you know, if you feel like you get ripped off, then you have an issue with it. But Australia certainly wasn't ripped off. They were outplayed by a better team, better coaching structure, and I just think more passion from their fans as well. The Aussie fans are good, but you just can't beat the British and Irish Lions, and they were very well behaved. So congratulations to all you guys who turned out in red. Wonderful job. Congratulations to all the Wallaby fans too who turned out in gold. It was played in good spirits, but, you know, you can't complain. The Lions deserve to be this year's winners.
Well, they were concerned about the Lions brand coming into this series. Hadn't won for quite a number of years, and they've actually done that, and done that in pretty good style actually. And listen, they have invigorated the game in this country. Listen, rugby in Australia was on a bit of a dip, but they're there. They've injected a lot of money into it. Strategically, what happens from here is entirely in the hands of guys like Bill Pulver, and let's hope that the leadership is shown fairly quickly. I think they need to move on the coaching situation ASAP. They can't let it fester, because those are the questions that will constantly come up during the Rugby Championship. Every time a Wallaby comes up, it's going to be, does the coach deserve to be there? Is he the best man for the job? So let's hope they move quickly on that, Bronk.
Well said. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Bronk.
Thanks for opening your wonderful abode up here at French's Forest.
Absolutely. On the edges of the northern beaches, and listen, it's fantastic. And sorry about all that chatter in the background. That's all the native birds and the flora and the fauna going berserk in the background.
They tend to do that when you've got a blue sky and wonderful conditions, so
yes.
At least we've got something going for us this weekend. All right, thank you, Mark Cashman. Everyone, that is it for our show, our wrap-up of the third test. Now, as I said, we did get Connor Murray in the mix zone, and just working on the audio for that, so I'll try and get that done. The Lions have got another day here in Australia, so hopefully we get something from Brian O'Driscoll before he heads out as well, who played a great part in the series, even though he didn't play in the final match. That is, I guess, the way things end. Thanks to our new sponsor on board too at the head of the show. They keep coming, and of course to Chris at strike.com.au. Go there, and if you're buying any product, you'll get 10% off by entering the code RuggaMatrix. That is it for RuggaMatrix International. We'll say goodbye to the Lions Series 2013, and we bring on the Super Rugby next week. It's the Reds and the Waratahs.